You guys, I am coming on the road to do stand-up this fall. Check it out. On October 12th, I'm going to be in Toledo, Ohio. October 15th, Cleveland, Ohio. November 5th, I'm going to be back here in New York City for the New York Comedy Festival. November 15th, Dallas, Texas. November 16th, Austin, Texas. December 14th, San Diego. December 25th, Chicago. More dates to come. You guys can go over to johnnymitchell.biz right now and get your tickets. Come see me on the road doing stand-up.
The older guy that owned the bar, Baba, was the boss at the time. Stands up and he goes, hey, you guys want to be wise guys? You're gangsters, right? You want to be gangsters? I'm going to show you how gangsters get treated that don't listen. And his voice keeps going up and I'm like, we got problems. They start bang, bang.
Today's guest is Chicky, a former mob associate and bookmaker for the Genovese Crime Family based out of Springfield, Massachusetts. Chicky is the real deal, okay? He came up in a mob culture surrounded by a lot of Italian Americans, many of whom were either gangsters or related to gangsters. He started out young doing small-time loan sharking and eventually opened up a sports betting business who he ran with the boss of Springfield. Eventually, he started taking in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of bets every week, okay? He was running a $1 million operation by the time the feds finally took him down in 2005. He is a mob historian. He is one of the last real wise guys left on the East Coast, and he never told. That's the thing. He did his bid. He didn't rat on anybody in a culture that is now full of rats. He told us about the American Mafia, how it really operates today, and basically answered the question about whether the mob will be able to survive in this new world where gambling is now basically legal. This guy was an amazing guest. And of course, if you want the bonus content with him where he's talking about a lot of the bodies and a lot of this dirt that, we can't exactly talk about here on the free episode, go over to patreon.com/theconnectshow to get that bonus footage. And without further ado, you guys, I give you Chicky, the bookmaker from Springfield, Mass.
You don't have to wait until you have to become an informant to change. You don't have to wait until you're facing 30 or 40 years or 20 years to change. You can change.
That's when I see lights behind me start to flash. And I didn't even think, I just hit it. I was driving like my life depended on it. And then I parked the car, hopped out, closed the door, and I started running. And he pulls out a burner, a shank, it's like 6 inches. And then he passes it to me. And he goes, here, that's yours. Don't ever leave the cell block without this. He was the reason I made it out of that place alive. Okay, how do you pronounce your last name?
Cicchetelli.
Cicchetelli.
Yeah.
Wow.
Chicky.
Chicky. And so that makes sense. Cicchetelli?
Yep.
So what do the feds call you? What does the government call you?
Fat Chicky, the pricks. I don't want to swear. I wouldn't swear. Are we rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling, man. That's
sorry.
great,
I'm
dude.
sorry.
Fat Chicky, man. So you're from, is that Sicilian?
No. We're from a region in Italy called Marchigiano, my family.
Which is where?
It's like, I never been there, to be honest with you.
But is it southern?
Yeah, I think it's southern. I've been all over the world with the Navy. I was in the Navy, but I never went to Italy. Maybe someday.
Yeah. Well, the southern, I ask what region because southern Italians are like Sicilians in the predisposition to crime.
Right.
They brought it over. So it was like Naples, Caserta, that whole region.
Right.
Did you have family in the Wise Guys?
No, not at all. That's the funny part. My father came from a big family. They were in the Bronx, Arthur Avenue.
Yeah.
They lived in a 5-story walk-up, 2-bedroom. There was my father and 6 brothers, so 7 boys and 4 girls. And they all lived in a 5-story walk-up on Arthur Avenue. And
good luck trying to get laid in that household.
Oh, my God. But my father went in the Marines when they got older. And 2 or 3 of his brothers stayed there, and the rest came to New England with my 4 aunts to open a string of auto bodies. Their business was auto body business. So at one time we had like 6 or 7 auto bodies in New England, each brother running one. And now there's still 3 left, but a lot of the uncles have passed on. It's been a long time,
Yeah.
But there's 3 still open that are very prominent.
Today's episode is brought to you by Fume, F-U-M. You guys know about Fume by now if you're a fan of this show. Fume is changing the world. Fume is a flavored air stick, you guys. That's the best way I can describe it. It is a wooden stick with a metal piece on the end, and inside of that tube is a flavored air stick. You put the flavored air stick in, and then you start sucking on delicious flavored air. Since they sent me a few of these things, I have not been able to put it down. A lot of you have bad habits. You know what I'm talking about. Things that are not good for your health. Well, guess what? Fume can help you get off of that by replacing the oral fixation and the fidgeting that you got with those other things, wink, wink. It can do that for you, and it's not only delicious, but it's completely natural. Okay, you got to get on Fume right now. Go over to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com and use code CONNECT to save an additional 10% off your order today when you order the Journey Pack. Again, head to tryfume.com/connect and use code CONNECT to save an additional 10% off your order today. You guys, this is like, I'm seriously, I'm off script here. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I mean, I am, but like I really believe in Fume and what it's doing to help people not only get healthier, but as just like a delicious way to like go through life. I'm in New York. I was puffing the thing on the plane the whole time. There's no smoke in it. There's no anything. It's just flavored air. It's like, I would call it like the new gum. Okay. It's great. Go over to tryfume.com right now. Use that promo code and start changing your life. Thank you, Fume. We were joking about, you know, the difference between the Mafia up in New England and how it's kind of treated as like the bastard stepchild of the families, right? When you think about Philadelphia, obviously New York, what made that different? What made wise guys from New England different from the families out of New York City?
Well, see, that's the funny thing. In my area, allegedly, but it's out there. It's not like I'm giving secrets. My specific area, Western Massachusetts, right on the Connecticut River, 25, 30 minutes from Hartford. We're about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes from Boston, an hour from Providence. We're centrally located right on the Connecticut River. Our area allegedly is a wing of the Genovese Crime Family, one of the families from New York.
Gotcha. And
just our area, Western Mass.
Okay. It's a Western Mass, and that's different than the Providence family, right?
Providence is allegedly Patriarcha, and Boston is Patriarcha.
Who's Patriarcha?
It's another crime family. It's not one of the 5 major ones from New York, but it's a very powerful family.
It's its own organization.
Yes.
And why do they get to operate without the blessing from New York?
Well, they do got the blessing from New York. It's just a different family, but they got the blessing. Raymond Patriarcha Sr., the father, was very powerful and just a very powerful man, and they've been there for a long, long, long time.
What is it about that corridor? So you have Western Mass, Boston, and Providence, Rhode Island. What is it about that little triangle?
And Connecticut,
too. And Connecticut. Oh, Connecticut has families?
Yeah.
What are we talking? Hartford?
Yeah, Hartford, New Haven has got Genovese, and they got trickled down with the Patriarchas too. But and there's a couple other families in Connecticut out towards like Danbury, Stamford, closer to New York line.
Right.
But yeah, this is all like things that are out there. It's not like I'm giving secrets.
Of course.
It's all out there.
What's the running? What was the running back in the day? What was the hustle? And why did that area have all these wise guys?
Well, it's in every area is different, but the majority of it in our area was sports gambling before the gambling was legal, and of course the loan sharking. You know, and in our area, Western Mass, from me growing up as a kid, seeing it, really we didn't do the extortions. That didn't start till the late 90s, early 2000s in our area. Now, in New York, I wasn't from New York. You know, I never lived here. My parents were, but my family was. But they came over to, like I said, New England. But yeah, it just I know in New York maybe they do that. I don't know. And you know, and I know New York's big with the unions and all that. We didn't really weren't the big in the unions. I mean, there was people we knew that were in the unions, but the main money in our area was like the street lottery, sports bookmaking, loan sharking, you know, the different lotteries and stuff. That was the main hub of our area as a kid growing up. And then, of course, me working for, you know, for my mentor, who ended up getting killed in 2003, but his name was Adolfo Big Al Bruno. And anybody can Google him. It was a very big case. And
what happened? What happened to him?
Well, on I believe it was November 23rd, 2003. He was in a Sunday night card game at our social club. Sunday during the day, we used to go over Bruno's house. His wife Anna's a sweetheart. She has 5 boys. And we used to go over and eat Sunday sauce after dinner, and we'd watch the football games. And see, I used to sneak over because I was on the phone then. That's when I was running his bookmaking office out of Springfield. And so I would go at like, we'd have to be there a quarter after 1. The games would start at 1. Then at 1:30, I'd shoot over, eat quick, because I had to be back on the phone at 3:15 for the 4 o'clock games. Then after the 4 o'clock games, 4:30, I'd go back over to Bruno's house, and I'd have a sheet, like a little sheet I would put to, Giants 5,000, Jets 4,000, how much we had on each game. Sometimes it equaled up to 100,000 in one day, 60,000, 70,000. And I'd go over there and give him the slip, and we watched the games together. And I'd say, and then at the end of the Sunday, before the 8 o'clock start, he would know kind of a ballpark. Oh, it's a good day, or not that good of a day. And then he used to go down to our social club in Springfield. At one time, we had 3 or 4 social clubs, but this was the main one. And he used to play cards on Sunday night with all the older guys. And, people would go down there and hang around and watch the game and laugh. And just kind of the older school Italian guys used to get away from their wife and kids after all day with them. And, he was down there playing cards. And another kid I knew, who I won't mention his name, was his driver that night. And they were playing cards. And he came out of the social club around probably like 10:15, 10:30, right around that time. And he always said hello to everybody. He always had a cigar. He was a very flashy dresser. If I had to compare him to somebody in a small aspect for our area, he was kind of like a John Gotti Sr. of our area. The flashy clothes, the newspapers knew him, cigar, walking around, and very big money maker. He was coming out of the social club, and there was a kid waiting in the wings of a dark part of the parking lot over by the social club. And Bruno was a guy where if you seen him, you'd say, hey, Bruno. You didn't even have to hardly know him. And he would be, hey, buddy. He was very approachable. Yeah. And he was very known to always shake somebody's hand and say, hi, buddy. How you doing, pal? And the guy came out from a dark part of our club, like waiting by the parking lot. And the guy said, hey, Bruno. And something like that. And Bruno goes, hey, buddy. He put his guard down, and he went to shake his hand, and the kid came up with a .45. And this is all public record, you know what I mean? The kid got convicted of it and then ends up flipping. And, the kid who killed him, a kid named Frankie Roach, ends up flipping and becoming an informant. And
they let him out?
Yeah, I think he's out now, to be honest with you.
So he murdered this guy, and then all he had to do was flip.
That's it. He came up with a gun. He shot him in the face, I think, a couple times, in the chest a couple times, and in the groin once. And the kid was out. That was it. Bruno was done.
What was he trying to accomplish from that?
Well, what happened was, like I said, again, allegedly, I use allegedly a lot, but there was a little coup in our area where the younger guys weren't happy,
with the older generation.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know the exact particulars, but what I do know and what I hear, and I've come to find out later, is that, there was an order given from New York. And the only reason I'm saying it is because people were convicted of it. And supposedly an order came from New York that they wanted him gone, for whatever reason. And the younger guys took him out.
Do you think that's true?
Well, they said a couple different things. I mean, who really knows? You know what I mean? I wasn't at secret meetings or nothing, but he was very well liked. I mean, I know there's rumblings on the like people on the internet and social media. Oh, he was suspected of being an informant. Bruno, he was never an informant. That I know. He never. I mean, was he a kind of guy who would be at a YMCA playing racquetball with a district attorney? Yeah. But he wasn't meeting the guy telling him secret things. You know what I mean? He
should be there. He should get to know the district attorney so you can pay him off.
And that's what I'll get into that after.
Don't they know that?
And that's
how it works?
And that's what he did. And the district attorney for many, many years, this district attorney that was for years in Springfield, helped out a lot of these guys. Cases came up, they'd make a call, the case would disappear. So they had the guy, and the guy got fired because of it. His name was Matty Ryan. It was back in the 90s, 80s. He was a big time district attorney.
So going back then, did Bruno give you your start in the Mafia?
What happened was, and that word I don't like really. I know
people don't. Yeah.
No. I mean, I was like a hustler. The guy had me running. But what happened was, as a kid, teenager, 13, 14, we worked at a fruit stand in Springfield, Mass. It was an Italian fruit stand, nice family. My childhood friend's father and mother owned it. Okay, and the mob guys or the organized crime guys would come in there. Guys from Boston, guys from New York, guys from Providence, guys from Connecticut. They'd come there on Sunday and they'd all get their fruit and vegetables or for the Sunday, whatever. And they'd have a meeting. That was their meeting. They'd pull in and we'd be like little kids hiding behind the banana or the grapefruit boxes. Oh, look, he pulled in from New York. Oh, he pulled in from Providence. And we were very inquisitive. Who are this guy? Who's that guy? He looks good. Oh my God, look at his shoes. We were kids.
And they're still dressed in suits. Wise guys are still.
No. I mean, I was more of an era with the guys had the velour sweatsuit, track suits.
Right.
There was, don't get me wrong, Bruno was dressed flashy, but he wasn't, weddings and stuff, they had nice suits. But most of the time I seen them, nice dress slacks, like a silk shirt out, comfortable.
Yeah, we're not a Goodfellas era anymore. We're like Sopranos tracksuit era.
Right. But the thing was, the old school guys, like the older guys, 70, 80, they always had the suits on. They were the old school. You ain't changing them, which that's great. But the newer guys, it was the Sergio Ticini sweatsuits and the white sneakers. Like you said, more like if you want to compare it to something, like the Sopranos, you know? And so we seen these guys in the fruit stand, and Bruno always took a liking to us. He was very good friends with my childhood friend that he does podcasts. He did a lot of these podcasts. And the only reason I bring him up is because in this big case when Bruno got murdered, he ends up cooperating and leaving the life and, testifying against some people. So that's the only reason I bring him up now, But so we were childhood kids around these people, and we were hustling and running around and starting trouble in the bars. And, we thought we were young kids who we are. Because remember, in our area, probably New York too, any other area, a lot of these wise guys owned the bars, the restaurants, the strip joints, the bar, everything. So we would go and they would know us. And like I said, there'd be a line with 50 people outside the, bar waiting, a hot bar, dance bar, whatever, back in the day. And the bouncer would go, Chicky, Anthony, whoever, come on. And we go right in the door, like the movies, And even restaurants, same thing. Like I was telling somebody, like that scene in Goodfellas where they go through the kitchen and they go up and around and they go up and the guy puts a table in front of the That was us.
Wow.
That was, as God is my judge. And my friends, they'll all tell you, the line could be down the street because they used to have like the real good comedians or bands or the Platters, the old group from the 50s or 60s. And we would get tickets and the line would be down the street to go to this show. And we go through the back door where the kitchen, same thing, tip the cook, hey, boom, Mo. And it was a very famous place in New England. It's closed now. It was called the Hookie Lau. And it was a Polynesian restaurant, big bar, dance floor. I mean, it was huge. It was, like over here they have, it wasn't like, it was a little bit Studio 54, but not really. But like the Copacabana, it was something like that in our area. And we used to be there all the time. We'd have our functions there and it was a nice place. And they treat us like gold.
Of course. You guys were the stars back then.
Well,
of the Italian communities.
There was bigger stars than us, but we were pretty
But
pretty
that
good.
was, in Italian communities up until, pretty recently, wise guys were these lauded, revered figures.
Absolutely.
So what was your first hustle? What was your first real money-making hustle?
Well, thank God, because I seen a lot of it, but I gambled a little bit. I wasn't a big gambler, but a lot of my friends were degenerate gamblers. And it was funny because we would be like 15, before we even had our license or right when we got our license. One of the kids that I hung around with, my childhood friend, was a very big gambler. And all the bookmakers in our area knew his voice and knew his family. So they didn't want him betting. So he would say to me, Chicky, do me a favor. I'm going to give you a list. Can you call up, just let's say on a Sunday or a Saturday, and bet these games? Just say these games. They don't know your voice. So I get the number, and he'd give me some code. And I'd call him as 15, before we had our license. And he would say, bet all these games. I'd say, just say all these games? Yeah, how much a piece? Now, the 15-year-old kids should be betting $100, $50 a game. He's betting $1,000 a game, 15 games on a Saturday. It's $15,000.
Wow.
Okay? And I'd say all the bets, boom, 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 boom. And so we started off that. And then at a young age, it was funny.
So pardon me. So you're making, that's a hustle, gambling.
Yeah.
Like picking the right teams to win or picking the right line.
Yes.
That's a money-making operation.
Right.
Can you explain to me, because this later on became your bread and butter. This was your thing with the organization. You were a bookmaker. Explain to me, or the people at home who don't know, what a legal sports gambling operation looks like and how it operates and how it makes money.
Okay. What happens is like Bruno knew a lot of people. And a lot of the pizza makers and a lot of the restaurateurs, high-end restaurants, all came from Italy. In our area, there's two prominent parts of Italy. There's Quiniges, and what's the other one? I'll think of it in a minute. I just had a thing, but there's Quiniges and another one. I'll think of it in a minute.
So you actually know like the regions where the people come from
They came
on
over
the
in
other
swarms
side.
in Western Mass.
Wow,
okay?
that's fascinating.
Yeah, they came from swarms, these two regions. There's Quiniges on one side of the mountain, and on the other side of the mountain, there's another one. I'll think of it in a minute. I just had a blank. But they came over together. And Bruno is not the Quiniges. He's on the other side of the mountain. So they all came over together and opened pizza shops and restaurants and bakeries, everything. So it would be as easy as like, hey, you go around to all the people you know. Bruno was the best at it. And he would give the number and say, listen, call up, bet,
But what is that though? What number? Tell us how the bookmaking operation works.
All right, so I would go, I would go and get 3 or 4 different locations. I'd give him 3 or 4 different numbers. Our area code, it wasn't an 800 number at that time, it was an area code with it. And we used to use call forwarding. So the feds never knew where we were, or at that time they didn't, but they learned how to combat that. But so I would get this number that's say at, let me just make up a street, 32 Avenue B. And I'd forward it to 2 cities over to another address. So when they attract that phone number, like say somebody gives us up or they pick onto something, they would go to that location where it was an empty apartment. Because I'm already 2 fast forwards in another city. Then they learned eventually how to track that. So what it is you're just taking bets. At one time, I probably had myself handling 80 to 100 customers, and then we had probably another 40 that were faxing me the stuff to stay on top of for his other offices. He had a few offices, but I had the biggest office. Wow. So
that's a lot of customers. And how many, your busiest time is when? Football season?
Yeah, well, no, we did everything. It was busy all the time, but the real busy time was during like college football. There's a ton of games on Saturday, Thursday night college, Friday, Sunday NFL, forget about it. Monday night football, forget it. Thursday night, there's an NFL game, forget about that.
What about the NCAA basketball tournament?
All of that. And then you got different things that are together. Like in other words, you have football and hockey or however it worked. It was a ton of action.
Right. And so how much money is, with 100 customers, how much money is going through that place?
Let's put it this way. When I pleaded guilty in 2005, because they got me on an FBI case for organized crime and for sports gambling, running a huge gambling business with no violence. I had no violence. It was just gambling. Even though really it didn't matter because they sent me to a U.S. federal penitentiary for just bookmaking, USP Canaan in Waymar, Pennsylvania, which is a heavy hitter joint. And I should have never been there, but it is what it is. But I was convicted of, I think it was like in less than 2 years, $3 million, and it was probably about 300 to 400,000 a month. They averaged.
Right. So it was more than that. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
See, I'm learning. So correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like if I want to have a sports making business, right? In Springfield, Mass, I think culture has a lot to do with it too. I think East Coast Italians specifically, it's a cultural thing if you're an electrician to put some money down, put some action down on Sunday, right? So you basically have a bank.
Yes.
Right?
I don't have it, but there is a bank.
There is a bank to the place.
Right.
Your organization has a bank.
Yes.
And you are trying. So explain, I don't want to put words in your mouth because I'm not a gambler. How does it work?
Let me give you an example. It's like Vegas or Atlantic City. We're the casino.
Yes.
Okay, that's the easiest way maybe can people get it.
Sure.
So in other words, back in the day, you got to understand this new way of things now where you can call up on a credit card and you can bet legitimately of all these, it's legal.
Yeah, Prize Picks sponsoring the show. Thank you.
Yeah, they're doing good. Don't worry about that. But anyways, so yeah, the bottom line is, unfortunately, and this is just the truth, maybe some people will agree, some people get mad, but the federal government became the new organized crime.
Of course. Well, it's like with weed now. They're making all the money off the weed.
That's it.
They took it from the hustler. They took it from the hustlers.
Come on,
man.
yeah.
So if you're the casino, you place the bets first, or how does that work?
No. They call me. I would write the bets down, and then.
And what are the bets?
Well, all football, whatever they want.
But is it the spread, or do you just
it could
say
be anything over and under the spread?
Right.
The spread. It could be. Like Super Bowl time, we were doing like if they run the 100-yard, like different crazy bets, if they field goal, unders, overs, everything.
Wow.
Everything in between. And everybody would go crazy doing it. And I would write the stuff down. And then at 1 o'clock, that would be it. And back in the day, back in like the late 80s, I did it from 1989 with Bruno, but we were doing it way before that. But 1989 I went to jail in 2006. So 2005, right before I went, we stopped.
It's a long run.
It was a long run, but I mean, I took a few pinches, like small pinches, state pinches, where it's bookmaking, no violence. So you get good for a year, probation. You don't do nothing, it's erased.
Right.
Basically,
would you get raided during these?
Yeah,
pinches?
They come in and raid. Oh my God. They would come in and raid you, destroy the house, and they'd be on the news like this crazy. They made it like they was coming for El Chapo.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because it's nice and easy. They know I'm not going to go out in a gun battle with them.
No.
I'm a big size guy.
Yeah.
They ain't chasing me because they're going to catch me. So I just...
Yeah, unless it's wrestling, they got the upper hand.
Oh, then I'll do the sumo on them. No, but you understand what I'm saying.
So it's they easy. How would they get pinches? Would they get wiretaps or would they get informants to act like
it would be informants, and they would
right.
give the phone number. Like say an informant got stuck and he couldn't pay. It happened a couple times to me. Kids set me up a couple times. But if they got an informant to flip or wiretaps, they got some kind of information and they would follow you. I remember several times they were in a parking lot, like right down, like I could literally look out the window of the second floor house I was in and see them all sitting there, the feds, like in a parking lot 60 yards away. So I would disconnect the phone and I'd take off. But once they're on to you, they used to follow me. I didn't have a shot. I mean, in your head, you think you're doing good. Oh, let me go down this street. I'll back up. I'll go through the parking lot. You ain't got a shot.
Right.
So when they're on to you. But what it is, and I'll go more to it after, but you're not going to, in today's day and age, I mean, everything's legal. Informants went through the roof. You know that. I mean, it's just everybody's an informant. A lot of people. Listen, like I had said when we talked privately, when you got guys like Joe Mazzina. Now, Joe Mazzina was one of the bosses of Bonanno family, of one of the 5 families. Okay, that's big. He flips. You got the underboss, Sammy the Bull, flips. When that stuff starts happening, if you don't scratch your head a little bit and say, well, wow, if this ain't a sign, what are we doing over here?
Yeah, it destroys morale.
Oh,
it
come on.
It does everything. And plus, like how do you make money now if you're a wise guy? Because there's got to be. Don't you think there's something left? Do you think this?
I mean,
but how do you make money if it's not drugs?
They got unions. They got businesses. A lot of these high level wise guys that are rich, beyond rich. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
Oh, millions and millions and millions, but. It's all switching to legitimately businesses and real estate and overseas stuff and land.
They become white collar.
Of course, they're smart. Okay. They say,
you think wise guys made it out? You think there's guys who avoided the life sentences and made it out?
Even in when did Carlo Gambino was one of the most notorious guys ever? The Gambino family, Carlo. I don't think he did a day in jail. He went to bed and died in his 80s or whatever.
Of course, that was back in the day, though. I'm talking about now.
Now, you ain't got a shot. Now, if you're out there, and especially if you're a violent guy, there's one or two things if you're a violent guy. Either you got in my opinion, maybe I don't know much. If you're a violent guy today on the street, you're either an informant, okay, that the feds know what you're doing, and you can be violent, like Greg Scarpa. They called him the Grim Reaper in Brooklyn. He killed over 80 guys, 70, 80 guys, killed 70, 80 guys that they know. He was an informant for 30 years, like Whitey Bulger, the guy in Boston.
Of course, and they just let you keep killing.
They're not going to say to you, kill this one, kill that one. They're not going to do that. But you go on the internet, it's all out there. It's not like I'm giving secrets. He would walk in a social club. If somebody accused him of something he didn't like, he'd shoot you right in the head in front of the whole social club. And everybody was saying, oh my God, he's crazy. No, he ain't crazy. He was an informant.
Yeah.
Whitey Bulger killed women, killed everything. A lot of people he killed. He was an informant.
Yeah.
He was turning in all the Italian guys in the North End, the Angiulo brothers and all the decent guys, good guys, older guys that just wanted to live peaceful. He was wiping them out so he could take their action.
Right.
It's all out there.
Yeah.
So,
the government was just as complicit in all of that, man.
Come on. Connolly was the guy, you can look this up. I forgot his name. I think it was John Connolly, was Whitey Bulger's FBI handler.
Right.
He knew what he was doing. They grew up in a project in Southie together
Matt
in
Damon
Boston.
And Departed.
Yeah. They played. There was two different movies: Departed and then Black Mass. It was fictionally based on Bulger, and that's another story we're getting with Whitey Bulger because my friend is in trial for his murder right now.
Wow. Yeah, we're gonna get into that.
To that.
But okay, so you're running. That really became your thing, was running the sports book.
Yeah.
Is that how you'd say it?
Yeah. And then on the side, not to cut you off, but on the side, we were, as kids or teenagers into our 20s, we were hustling loan sharking. We weren't supposed to. Because when you do something, they want to know.
Okay,
right?
so who's they?
The hustlers on the street. I don't like using the word like the mafia. I don't use that word.
No. But we're not using the mafia.
Let's say organized crime guys.
Right.
You're not supposed to run amok. As kids, we were running amok. Like, I can remember it was crazy because we would have customers. Like, we would borrow money, say we borrowed money for 2 points. Okay, 2 points is $20 on 1,000. So in other words, somebody gave us, say
2 points is 2%.
2% so, per week. So if a guy gave us 10 or 20,000, we had to pay this guy $20 on every 1,000. So we borrowed 10,000, $20 on every 1,000, figure it out, per week. It wasn't even our money. We were putting it out for 5 or 6 points.
So you were borrowing money to loan it out again.
Right, 1 or 2 points, and then we would borrow and put it out for 4 points more. Not even our money.
Wow.
But here's the thing.
So you'd make 4 off of 2.
Right. We'd do 6 or 5. We'd pay 2 or 1,
right,
and we'd keep the other 3 or 4.
Right, the spread, yeah.
But here's the thing.
So this asshole's paying 6 points, whoever's borrowing from you.
But they'll do it, believe me.
Who's they?
Whoever needs money. Guy gets stuck gambling. Guy wants to buy a hot dog cart and open a $2,000 business and pay you back. That's what they would do back in the day. So what was funny, Johnny, was Bruno would always catch me and say, come here. On the side of like the south end is where the Italian section of Springfield we used to talk about. And Bruno used to get me on the side of a building and say, let me ask you a question. Yeah, what's up, Bruno? He'd say, I just ran into some guy. He said, he's been paying you $250 a week for the last 2.5 years. How come I ain't seen none of it? So we got in trouble a lot of times, and I'd have to go, I had a stutter step and say, no, it's not me. It's boom, boom, boom. You try to work it out. But it was funny because even when he found out for sure, he would say, tell me the truth, the poor guy. How much you got on the street? And I'd say, well, we had 10,000. I'm not going to lie to you. Meanwhile, we had 150,000. So we were always doing that, which looking back now, we had to be nuts because
if he was somebody else, you guys might have been in a river.
Who knows, right? But we always had sit downs over it, and this guy can't pay. We got in a lot of trouble.
Did you ever get made?
No. I was never. Thank God. I looking back now, thank God. But that's what we aspired to. Like I was saying, as a kid, getting made to me and a lot of my friends, I'm not going to speak for all of them, that was like the equivalent of winning the Heisman Trophy. That was
making it to the league.
Yeah, like I had said, if somebody said to me, we're going to put you in Harvard, don't even got to study, work, you don't got to do nothing. We're going to give you a 4-year degree. You're going to go on to be I would have said, I'm all set. I want to be on the street. That's our mentality from me. I can say me for sure. A lot of other people too, but so
why you're this great earner though? You're this fantastic earner. Why did the bosses not want to make you?
Well, what happened was they had back in the day. They had an older crew. It was an older crew, and then a lot of guys got arrested. A lot of guys died. Informants, real guys that took that oath became informants. So. I'll tell you the truth. There was a couple guys in my area. I'm not going to mention their name because they're still around and they're good, good guys. I grew up with them, and they had the shot to get it. They had the shot of getting it, this major thing, and they said, "No, we're all set." And they didn't want it because they seen the way that was going. You understand?
Yeah.
And when you got bosses that are opening up on their people they sent to do things,
right?
Come on,
holy shit! Yeah.
Like I said, I can do these podcasts, and like I said, and at the end we'll go where I'm going with as far as positivity and changing, but. And like I said, and I talked to you privately, you don't have to wait until you have to become an informant to change. You don't have to wait until you're facing 30 or 40 years or 20 years to change. Yeah. You can change. No. And I was blessed because, like I said, I never took that oath. I was just whatever you want to call me. I call myself a hustler. I never even say associate. I don't say that.
But did you still have to kick up when you're making money, putting money out, loan sharking, running your sports? So who are you kicking up to? Bruno?
Well, yeah, Bruno or yeah.
And then, so Bruno's made, obviously.
Well, yeah, allegedly, yes. Well, he became a boss, so
right.
or whatever. If you got to be, yeah, he allegedly.
So he's a boss of the Springfield organization crew.
Yep.
But they are kicking up to New York, correct?
Yes.
And who are they with?
Somewhat.
Gambinos?
Genovese.
The Genovese.
Yeah,
okay.
which is like the Ivy League, the most powerful, the most. They call it an Ivy League organization. You know, even to this day. You know,
do they still operate?
I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't been in a long time.
But why would a crew in Springfield doing their own thing? Why would they need the Genovese? Why would they even kick up to them?
Well, in our area, allegedly the Genovese family was since 1930. I mean, it goes back a long
so it's
time
blood
ago.
ties.
Yeah, there's you know,
family.
There's like 3 different reasons why they went to Springfield. I don't Western Mass, but there's 3 different things. I don't know for sure because I was sitting around in the 30s, but they've been there since the 30s. So it was a very big stronghold. And they've always, Boston's got their thing, Providence got their thing. And then Boston also had Whitey Bulger and the Irish crew. They were mixed Italians and Irish, but they were doing their thing. So that's what makes Western Mass unique, you know, is that they're tied in with allegedly the New York family.
Yeah. Okay. So it's now the 90s. You've taken a couple of cases, state cases.
Just like not jail yet. I didn't go. I picked my first FBI case in 2004 or 5, but all the rest were state cases, organized crime, task force. But like I said, there's no violence.
Right. Did you ever have to do anything like that? Did you ever have to get dirty?
Yeah. Oh, not like bodies or nothing like that.
No, of course. But I mean, when somebody, let's talk about collection. You know, now you running this major sports gambling operation, you got a lot of degenerate gamblers that are probably falling behind on what they owe, right? Tell me about that.
Well, like New York's different. I don't know what they did in New York or maybe even Boston, but in our area, it wasn't like if somebody didn't pay, you went and cracked their head open. It was nothing like that. I know the movies make it look wonderful, but in our area, there was always talking it out. You know what I mean? Like, except for a couple things. Like I told you about my friend today, Anthony Grosso, my guy who brought me here. I'll tell you his story after, or he can tell it later. But anyways, yeah. I mean, they come to you and they work it out with you. Hey, what do you need? And I've even seen Bruno a couple of times where people lost their job and they owed money. And he's like, listen, don't worry about it. It was called Corando Meats. It's a huge plant in Springfield. And they sell all the high-end sausage, supersad, cheese, you know, all the famous stuff. He had a connection over there, or he had a lot of connections, but he would say, listen, go over there, mention my name, you got a job. Guy's got a career. Him and his wife need 2 jobs. They come from Italy. Guy gets stuck a little bit. Even if he didn't get stuck, he needed help. Bruno would help him. Go over there. You got a job.
Get him a job, and now you can pay me back.
Yeah. I mean, if they owed him, then he would say, and he was a gentleman. He used to say to me, don't argue with them. If they owe, like one kid owed me $6,000, I don't remember what it was. And the kid, I said, just let me ask you a question. There's no tough guyness here. There's no organized crime. Just me and you. You bet, right? Yeah, I did. What can you pay a week? You owe $6,000. There's no juice. There's nothing. Just what can you pay? So I can give it to them and they're happy. He goes, he owned a pizza shop. He ends up screwing me at the end because he became an informant and put me in jail. But so I said, how about $200 a week? Is that going to kill you? He had a pizza shop, nice pizza shop. And I said, how about if I come up? But which day is a good day for you? He goes, Saturday afternoon. I said, okay. And I used to go up there with my kids. I had 2 little kids at the time, 6, 7. I'd bring the kids, have pizza. Hello, uncle. They'd call him his name. I don't want to mention him. It's disgusting. But anyways, they would go in there and I'd get pizza. So he would give me $200. I'd spend $130 on lunch. So really he's only giving me $70, you know, roughly, just to kind of keep peace.
But you would go collect with your daughters there. That's funny.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't like I was picking up drugs. I'm eating pizza. We're playing the jukebox, drinking soda. And then when I leave, he gives me an envelope with $200.
Yeah.
So it ain't like I'm going to pick up drugs.
How much what was the most that somebody got into you for?
There were some big ones, but well, like I said, the kid that you met today, he lost up between 5 or 6, 7 bookmakers, friendly bookmakers in our area. He lost in one, I think it was in 1 week, $100,000. And
that somebody owed him, or that he just lost?
He lost all the. He owed 100 G's.
Wow.
No, not in one bet throughout the week.
Right.
You know, maybe 10,000 Monday, Tuesday, 5, whatever it was. At the end of the week, he owed 100,000 total to all these guys.
Oh my God.
And he, excuse me, he didn't have it. And that's the story I told you on the other one where, you know, he takes off to Vegas, he borrows $1,000, leaves his wife and kid, and in like 2 months' time, he turned $1,000 into $400,000. Yeah, paid everybody he owed and came home with $300,000. This is like 25 years ago.
My question though, like if you're running one of these sports books, if I'm running it, you put a bunch of money on a game, you lose. I'm personally not out anything, correct?
What do you mean? In
Like,
other words,
he's placing a bet, but I'm the casino. So if he loses the bet and doesn't have the money to pay,
you're out that money. What do you mean you're not?
But
me personally is not. But
how
my guy is
right? But I still don't understand how it fucking works. Like, how am I? If you're the casino,
right?
You have the bank that is there to pay people out if they win, but if they lose, well. Okay, yeah, I guess he's reneging. He bet with money that he doesn't have, but how are you out? Well, you didn't actually lose any principal.
Yeah, but that's not the way they look at it. That ain't the way. The way they look at it is if he would have won, he would have got every nickel.
It's opportunity cost. Right. So
it's now you lost. You can't just say, I'm not paying you. But then if you won, we would have paid you.
Right.
And they had a different thing. Like I said, I just did the figures, stayed on top of all the guys.
Right.
Then at the end of the night, there was 3 of us. We'd be on 3 different phones. We go down the sheet, correct everything, make sure it's all right. At the end of the week, I would give my sheet to somebody. Another guy would give his sheet to somebody. And the guy who would get the faxes to check us, make sure. Because in that business, in any business in that life, it ain't everybody's being trusted. I stay on top of him. He's staying on top of me. He stays on top of me. I stay on top of him.
So everybody's checking each other.
And at the end of the week, say comes, if this Sunday night the game's ended, by Tuesday morning, I gave my sheet to somebody. The guy gave his sheet. The guy gave his sheet. Now they look at the 3 sheets and they better match. You understand? If I got one guy losing, if I got one guy winning 7,000, the same guy on another guy's sheet won 5,000. Other guy says 5,000. Where's 2,000 more I got? They're going to look into it.
Right.
You understand?
So did you actually? Were you ever the owner of a book, or did you just? Did you just run it?
Well, we used to do it as kids, run our own books, but kids. But when we got into the big numbers, I'm convicted of it, so I can talk about it. I was on an indictment with Bruno. He was called an unindicted co-defendant because he was murdered. We picked up the case in 2004. He was murdered November 2003. Right. So he was on our paperwork. When we got arrested, his name was on all the papers. Right. But he was murdered.
So were you running Bruno's book?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And then when Bruno died in 2003, the kid Anthony, my childhood friend back then, becomes the boss. Now he takes all of Bruno's stuff.
How did he become the boss?
Well, they killed Bruno.
But he was the underboss?
No, he took that oath.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
And New York liked him. The boss in New York liked him, Artie Nigro from the Bronx, and made him the captain, the boss of our crew.
Wow. So it was still, even 15, 20 years ago, it was still connected like that. It was still moving. Yeah. Wow.
I mean, they've been around hundreds of years.
Right, right. Well, but I'm saying that was the last generation, like the early 2000s, before sports betting started to really become legal.
And then I think in 2008 or 9, between the informants and everything, they end up picking up kid I was talking about, Anthony, my childhood friend, Anthony Arlotta, does podcasts and everything. They picked him up and they picked the 2 brothers up, the Gia's brothers, and another kid, I won't mention his name, he's from Italy, Queenages. Excuse me, a little cold. But anyways, yeah. So they picked them up for that Bruno murder. And and then out of, 2 guys that took that oath cooperated.
Yeah.
The guy, the Spanish kid, who was kind of like a junkie kind of kid that they paid to do it, cooperated. And there was 4 people that went to jail. 1 for 25 years, 3 for life. The guy in New York, the boss in New York, Artie Nigro at the time, the acting boss, he got a life sentence. The 2 brothers I was telling you about, Whitey Bulger, Freddie and Ty G, has both got life sentences. And the kid I didn't mention, he's from Queenages, Italy. He was a Italian kid from Italy, came over and they straightened him out. He got 25 years. So,
is this just a racketeering charge?
No, it was murder. No, it was murder, racketeering, murder.
Okay, got it.
They
tied a body into it.
Yeah, they tied 2 bodies into it.
Okay.
Yeah, there was 2 bodies they tied into it.
I've heard that the families that still are left in New York have to bring guys over from Sicily and Italy now because they don't have enough, they can't get enough recruits homegrown.
Maybe in New York. In New York, it's like that. Or maybe New Jersey, not in our area.
You still got enough Italians?
Well, no. In my opinion, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sharp with this, our area is done. Done. Like the books are closed. No, it ain't even the books are closed. There's nobody there. I mean, there's no action. I got a couple friends but yeah. I mean, after what happened with this big case, with the boss getting put in jail, my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but they don't want nothing to do with Springfield, to be honest with you.
Wow, it's just done.
Yeah, it's done. All the older guys are either dead, in jail, or cooperated. So the guys in New York want nothing to do with Springfield, my opinion.
Did the Springfield associates, the wise guys in your era, were they involved with drugs at all?
I didn't see that. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't see that, but I'm sure there was a lot of our friends that went on to be important figures in that life that were pot dealers and, you know, come on, in anything, whether it's in the biker world, this world, that world, there's always drugs. But in every batch of apples, there's always a couple you can't, you know.
Did anybody try to rob you or stick you up or try any foolishness like that while you were running a book?
No. Well, you got to understand, they're not stupid. I wasn't like I was carrying the money around. I did the office, and I would give my sheet to somebody, and they had a guy that ran around, paid and collected. So I wasn't that part of it. I was just the guy who gave the paper. And
what was your skill? Because this takes some skill. Like I'm went to college and graduated, and I'm too dumb to. I mean, like we all like to shit on Italians about how dumb you guys are. I'm kidding, of course, but you like the mathematics. It's just you got to be
crazy.
sharp, man.
Listen,
this is complicated. So what made you really good at sports betting?
I gotta be honest with you. I mean, I was very thorough. Like I stayed on top. Nobody could pass post me. Like that means if a game started at 1 o'clock, would have the knuckleheads that would call me at like 7 after 1. And that back then it was ahead of the time. We had a little beeper and it would give the sports scores exactly on the second.
I remember those.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. A big thick beeper. Yeah. You couldn't get texts. You could only get sports scores. And I would look and a guy would just let me make up a game. A guy would come in and say Saturday, I want to take Boston College. It's like 6 after 1. And he'd say, I want Boston College for 5,000. And I'd say, yeah, hold on. I'd say, yeah, hold on. I look. And if it was 0-0, you know, maybe. But I look, it would be 7-0. They ran a 100-yard, touchdown. So at 7 after, he's saying, I want to bet Boston. I say, buddy, what are you doing over here? Oh, no, I made a mistake. Yeah, okay. See ya. Thanks. Bye. Hung up.
Yeah.
But you know what they were doing.
You can't get one over on you.
And then they'd have the guys that would talk. They would play games. They would say, that's why I repeated everything back, and we had everything on a tape. So in other words, when they called and we picked up the phone, it would start recording. Because a lot of these guys would call up and they'd be, this is another fancy one, which was crazy. They would say, okay, say, all right, the Giants. Guy would say, give me the Giants for 100. Give me the Giants for 100. That's why I would say it to me. So I'd say, wait a minute. And they would try to get off the front with it. I'd say, do you want Giants for 100 or do you want Giants for 400? He would say it quick. Now, if it loses, you say, I had it for 100. But if it won, I said 400. So it was a lot of things like that where I would say, well, just call me back at 1:15 and I'll play your voice. And we would play the tape. And it was funny because—
Wow. But that's the feds. I mean, were you worried that those tapes could be used as evidence later?
I mean, it was back in, like I'm saying, the late 80s, 90s.
The feds ever find that and use it against you in that trial?
No, we didn't keep them. You know, I mean, we usually keep them for a day, hide them somewhere. Then once people checked out that night, they were gone.
Yeah. Did you see like gambling addiction? Did you see people fall apart from being addicted to gambling?
Lost businesses, pizza shops, restaurants, their wife, had to leave their house. Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
But see, if I may go somewhere with this, the government today, it's all legal. We have MGM in downtown Springfield, the casino. They got a sports book as about a year ago, maybe a year and a few months. You can go in there and lose all you want. Lose your house, your wife, your kids. Sorry. But they make themselves feel better because when you're betting in the casino, there's signs, or even on the lotto or Keno, whatever. If you have a gambling addiction, call 1-800. It makes themselves feel better.
It's
they
crazy.
Don't care if you lose your house. They're getting a piece.
Yeah.
Banks ain't loan sharks.
Of course.
Don't pay your mortgage for a couple months and see. You wish you got a slap and worked it out.
Of course.
They'll take your house.
And I think that was the reason that the Mafia really was useful. I'm sorry to use that word.
Yeah.
That's the reason that the Italian wise guys in America were useful back in the day, because they did provide a better service than what institutions like banks and the government did.
And they pay better on the street number. If it's a street number, we had the Spanish street number. We had the African-American street number.
What does that mean?
That means in different parts of the city, I used to go pick up the street number all the time at a little bar, like the Spanish. They had all the numbers. Spanish people running. Yeah, it was a lottery. And they used to go by the last 4 numbers of, let's say, I forgot what we used to use in Connecticut. Oh, I think it was Keno or Power. I don't remember what it was, but every night they had a number somewhere, and we would use the last 4 digits of that number. It could have, I think it might, I'm not sure what it was. I forget. But the last 4 numbers would be like, say, 6241. That was the number. And every night at 10 o'clock, the number would come out. I think it was Powerball. One of them, the last 4 numbers we would use for the street number. And that was a huge
So were you involved in numbers, or was it just?
Well, yeah. No, I used to, for a while, I picked up the number and I stayed on top of it. You had to make a copy of all the numbers and then drop the number off somewhere, because if they didn't want on top, I wouldn't do it, because I knew. But you get a wrong kind of person, they'll say, oh, the guy hit for 4,000. Nobody hit. So before 10 o'clock at night, before 9 o'clock at night, the number came out at 10, we had to have that somewhere, like the copy of all the numbers somewhere. They make us drop it off somewhere, like in a slot box or something. So I had it, but then somebody else had it before the time the number came out. So there was no robbing.
Wow.
That's how it was. You stay on top of it.
So it's pretty organized.
Organized crime.
So did you feel like anytime, you're making all this money for Bruno, did you ever say to yourself, damn, I want to own this. I want to have a Chicky working for me,
I mean, as we were getting older, see, that's what I was telling you before. It was funny because, unfortunately, we shouldn't have been done it, but we were doing it anyways. Like, I can remember I was working for Bruno in the office, and I probably had 15 customers secretly on my own that I was keeping the action. But I knew the kids, so if they
a little side business.
Yeah. So in other words, if I won, if they lost, it wasn't a lot, 2,000. I was going to go crazy because I didn't have it like that. So we were doing our own thing. We were loaning out money. We got in trouble several times, and thank God we talked our way out of it. But
if you're, what kind of losses? Now, I was running a sports book, so you paid attention to all sports.
Yes.
You were just on it all the time. It's like being a stock trader.
Oh.
You're always looking at the stock tickers.
But
you read about
at
companies.
least it starts at 9 a.m. and closes at 4.
Right.
Sports bookmaking goes West Coast, Hawaii, wherever there's a game. It's 3 o'clock in the morning from, maybe during the day, but baseball starts at noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. It doesn't stop.
So you know as much as an ESPN analyst.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, they're really professional, but I knew a lot at the time. Now I forgot a lot of it. It's been a lot of years, but.
So you were just good at picking who was going to win.
Well, not really picking who was winning. As long as I had the good lines, we had good sources to get lines. We used to call New York. And then later on in the late 90s, we called Costa Rica. And then what happened was they got very smart.
Tell us about that, though. Hold on. So you're getting inside information. Tell us about how you get info, inside info.
It's not really inside information, but they had professional people that knew how to make lines. So say the Giants were 2.5, okay? We would have a guy that says 2.5 seems low, go 3.5. Like really good guys.
Meaning they were going to win?
Minus, like if the Giants were minus 2.5, our guy in Costa Rica or somebody in New York, very smart, they got some brain surgeon guys. And, when it comes to sports, and he would say, it's 2.5's low, make it minus 3.5. And we would do it. And then I would adjust the line as I needed. So in other words, say there's Giants playing New England Patriots and the line's 3.5. Say within the first half hour, I got 15,000 on the Giants minus 3.5. What am I going to do? I got to go up in the line now. So we got 10,000 or 15,000 at minus 3.5. I would change the line to 4 or 4.5. Because now anything that comes in on Giants, it's a different line.
Oh, so you can change the lines in the middle of the game.
No, not in the middle of the game. Before the game starts. As new people call,
right.
I would say, the line was 3.5. It went to 4.5. If you don't want it, I get it. Don't worry about it.
Right.
And they would always take it. And sometimes you would catch it where the 3.5's won, but the minus 4.5, it didn't. It landed on the 4.
Wow.
So that was up to me, though, based on what we had in the game.
Yeah.
And we didn't edge off to nobody. That's a big thing. A lot of bookmakers edge off to Vegas, Atlantic City,
What does edge off mean?
Edge off means if we got 50,000 or 70,000 on a game, a lot of bookmakers like to take half of that, and they'll go to Vegas, or, they'll make a bet in Vegas to help them. So if they lose, they don't got to pay 70,000 or whatever it is. They pay 35. Our guy Bruno said, no, we take everything. So if he had 100,000 on a game, everything was the same.
Wow.
We took everything.
Wow. You guys, today's episode is sponsored by HelloFresh. You guys, if you're like me and you don't have time to cook and you don't have a spouse to cook for you, HelloFresh will change your life. Okay, check this out. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy. You guys, they send you 3 meals a day if you want, okay? And it's cheaper than eating out. This is the only way that I eat nowadays, okay? And it's healthy for you. Get in shape, you big slob. With HelloFresh, you know you're getting top-notch produce since it travels from the farm to your door in less than 7 days. You're not getting disgusting factory-raised, fast food type produce, meats, or veggies, okay? You're getting healthy quality grub, all right? And they have got an offer for you right now. If you go over to HelloFresh.com/50Connect, that's 50Connect, and use code 50Connect for 50% off. You'll also get 15% off of the next 2 months. Let me repeat that. Go to HelloFresh.com/50Connect and use code 50Connect for 50% off plus 15% off the next 2 months. Okay? You guys, HelloFresh has changed my life. It's made my business better because now I don't have to worry about buying or preparing food. Go over and support them because they support the show. Yeah. So, okay. And how many people are working when you guys get the big office with like 100 customers? How many people are working?
Well, I was doing 80, 100 myself because a lot of guys took pinches. But when it's running the right way, maybe for like 120, 130 guys, you got 3 different guys working the office, 3 different locations, splitting up 120 guys.
And where are the offices? Just houses?
Yeah, apartments, empty apartments, a warehouse behind a pizza shop in the back kitchen. You put a little phone and you're sitting in a little office like a nut. And yeah, anywhere you can get a place.
It's like a boiler room.
Whatever. And if people owned an apartment, like we used to go to colleges a lot, college kids' places, they would pay the kid like $350, $400 a month to use their apartment for an hour a day. So what kid, a college kid, he's paying $700 rent. We're paying $350, $400 every month. I give him $400 cash. He's never home. He's at school. Yeah. I used to have to go over there on Saturday and Sunday. That was a long day because Saturday college, Sunday NFL. But then Monday night is from like 7 to 9:15. You know, so yeah, it was.
So how much were you taking? What was your personal take? Like every month, did you have a percentage from like a commission? Like how much?
No, what happened was I was getting a good pay. I mean, back in the late 80s through the 90s, I mean, I'll go into it after, but he had me at his bar, watching his bar. We had a venue with beer, wine, food, restaurant, a venue where the singers sang. He owned that. He gave it to me and 2 of my childhood friends to run for him. Needless to say, it didn't last long because we just enjoyed that, you know, between all the craziness. We were young kids, 21, 22. We didn't want to work. And and he gave us a lot of opportunities. So I was making probably, excuse me, in the late 90s, mid 90s, I was making probably $600-700 a week, clear, no taxes. And then whatever I was hustling on the side, plus working at his bar, you know, at night, 98, 99, 2000, I was running one of his big nightclubs, 5-story nightclub. I was getting 150, 200 a night over there just for 4 hours, 10 to 2, just to stay on top of the, you know.
But that's chump change compared to what the gambling's bringing in.
Oh, so yeah.
What did you make from the gambling?
Well, I was getting a pay, right?
What was it?
Like $700-800 a week, $600 to $800 a week, depending. And every time he had a winning week, if he won 10,000, you know, he wasn't really doing much, but if he won 30, 40,000, he was giving us a Gino, 2,000, go take, you know, whatever, go have fun. So he was good like that.
But you know, you're for a bet for a sports book that's bringing in, you know, hundreds of thousands a week. It sounds like
right.
You're making Bruno a millionaire.
Well, keep in mind, it didn't all wins. He had to pay out a lot of weeks too, 100,000. He used to have to go borrow. That's one thing. When they came over from Italy, he knew a lot of the people from Italy. Okay,
right.
And they were friends with him, and they owned big money pizza shops and big restaurants, famous restaurants in Springfield next to the MGM. Red Rose, it's known all through New England. He could go to them because when Bruno, if he lost big, he used to go to this place. I won't say the name of it, but he could say to the guy, "I need 100,000 this week, and I'll pay you next week or 2 weeks from now." And when he said he was going to pay you, he paid every nickel back. No juice, no none. He just borrowed 100,000. The guy would go in his safe because a lot of in our area, a lot of pizza guys have it in the safe. But they would give it to his son. His son would go up there and get it, and they'd bring it to our guy.
100 cash.
Like nothing.
Like
and then
nothing.
Bruno would say, "I'd see you next week or the week after. My son will come back and replace it." And he always did. That's why they loved him. They did it. One thing about Bruno, he was a good guy. His name is Big Al Bruno. And he paid. I mean, he paid every nickel back. You know, whatever he had to borrow, he had a, you know, free check, right? You could write any check he wanted. And he was a hustler. But,
and so that was your guys' business. You guys were just some, you know, he was a made guy. He was involved. Yes, he was kicking up to, you know, the Genovese in New York.
I wasn't part of that, so I don't know what he was doing. I don't know that.
But, you know, he sounds like a non-violent guy. He just sounds like a...
No, he was a moneymaker, but if he had to get violent, he could get violent.
Did he get violent?
Yeah. There was beatings, there was stuff, yeah.
To collect.
And then the younger generation guys, like my childhood friend and the Gia's brothers and them guys were very violent. It was a whole nother ballgame.
But did you get into that, or?
Oh, there was many times. I mean,
like, did you have to beat a guy?
Yeah. There was many times where, like, my friends would call me, and you can't say, no, I'm just a bookmaker. You know, I don't do that. They would call me because they've got to understand I wasn't just a bookmaker. I grew up with these kids. So prior to being in this crazy world of gambling, we were doing this. We were not that I was ever like Mr. Tough Guy. I never was like that. But if you said to me, Chicky, we got to go get a couple guys. We'll get a couple guys. We're going to go do this. I did that 100 times. You know, I mean, a lot of times. Not that big tough guy, but you're going to go with your friends. Your friends need you. Oh, this guy disrespected my sister. Let's go.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. Whatever it was.
It's not like the movie Casino, like, don't let Sam Rothstein, he's the moneymaker. Don't let him get involved in the dirt. We need him picking.
Yeah, there's people like that. There are people like that in that world that are big money guys, and they don't want them.
Yeah.
I wasn't that. I used to go. Like I said, I was doing a lot of crazy things secretly with my friends that we shouldn't have been doing. We got a lot of trouble. A lot of sit-downs. A sit-down is when you do something wrong and the real guys sit down with you and they crack you and slap you and punch you. A lot of times like that. For fighting in their bars and stuff. They were no joke.
Do you remember the scariest sit-down you ever had? Where you thought you might get killed? Or
not killed, but a good beat. And so I had said this story before, but I'll tell you, it's funny. There was a bar, big bar in our area, and it was owned by wise guys, him and his brother. And it was a rock bar, good rock bar, and girls. It was called Macaras, okay? And it was in this area called 16 Acres, a nice area of Springfield. And we used to go up there all the time. And I did, you know, kind of be a wise guy in that bar with some of my friends. But this particular night, I wasn't there. So they said they went in and they had a disruption and a melee, and they broke glasses and told the heads, go screw yourself, and all this stuff. And they wanted to know, they knew who was inside because they were spotted, but they wanted to know, it was described by the manager that there was a big guy in a white Cadillac parked out front waiting for them and then sped off. Now, I had white Cadillacs my whole life, and I'm a big guy, but this time I really wasn't me. I know, I was a friend of mine that was a big guy driving a white Cadillac. But so the next morning we get a call from one of the wise guys' nephews. And he said, you guys are in big trouble. They want to see you today because you wrecked their bar, and they're really mad. They're like, who are you guys to wreck their business? Because they don't want to lose money. You know, the cops are involved.
And when you get summoned to a sit down with made guys, there's no not going.
Well, this is the funny thing. We got summoned by serious guys back in the day. Now all the guys out. The only reason I'm talking about now is because they're either all dead. They're all dead.
Yeah.
They were older. They were the real deal. Heavy hitter, put in a lot of work. You know, I don't want to get into specifics, but they put in a lot of work. These guys were feared. This is the old generation from like the 50s, 60s, the old guys. I think at the time, the head guy, the boss at the time was a guy, Albert Shabelli Baba. He's dead. He was in his 80s when he was owning this bar, going crazy on us. So the word comes down, and me, there was 4 of us. Myself, that wasn't even there, but I'm not going to say I wasn't there, you know, whatever. And my 3 friends. So, we get together and we're like, we're going to go to this meeting. And they go, listen, we're going to get cracked. We ain't going nowhere. So we jump in my car. Now it's really me. We head off to Fort Lauderdale. We drive from Western Mass to Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, no. You went on the lam.
Exactly.
Fuck.
So we're gone for about a month. Okay. We stay at my friend's father had a condo in Boca Raton. We stay there. We brought we were hustling with this or that. And we had money put away. So we took $5,000 for a couple of weeks. Let's go. You know, and it was funny because one of my friends goes, listen, I didn't even want to go, but I ain't giving you $5,000 out of our pot. And you have a good time, and I'm not there. So he came with us, even though he was going to get cracked. So we're out there about a month, and they know you're out there. They see you. The people see you out there. Like, they have friends that live out there. And they're like, oh, we seen Chicky. They're big shots in the VIP at Crazy Horse. Or they're at Pure Platinum. We're at all the joints, adult joints, adult club, men's, gentlemen's club. So they got smart, right? And we were idiots. After about a month, we're checking home and we don't hear nothing. And guy calls us, says, come home. What are you, stupid? You're going to stay out there forever? They're done. They don't even care about you guys. Come home. The only thing you might do is have to pay for some glasses that were broke or say sorry to the woman that you told her, go screw yourself. That was their manager. So we come back and it was funny because we get back and the word goes out, oh, they're back, they're back. So all of a sudden, mysteriously, they want to see us now again. But this time they're telling us, no, nobody's getting hit. We just want you to know we're serious and you're going to have to pay and not go in there no more. And we're like, yeah, okay. And I said, this is a bad idea. So I knew we were in trouble when we parked the car down the south end where all the Italian area is. And one of these organized crime guys who I can talk about now because he ends up flipping, this guy Felix Tringhese, he ends up flipping on the Bruno murder. So he's an informant now, okay? So he's out of that life. He brings us in his car, and he was he was younger. He was older than us, but younger than the older guys. He was like their muscle kind of for a long time because he was a younger guy, and he was a tough guy. So he picks up his car. He picks us up in the car, and we go out to this little car lot down in the real bad area in Springfield. And so we get out of the car. He brings us in this little office. It's an office, maybe 10 feet by 8 feet. And there's 4 chairs, and there's a couple chairs. So all of a sudden, we're sitting there. And our guy Bruno at the time is doing a small prison sentence. He's doing 2 or 3 years for something. So he would have usually went to that meeting with us and said, the guys are with me. Chicky's with me. Mm-hmm. Don't hit them. We'll make them pay. And if they do it again, I'll cripple them. That's what he would have said. He could have helped us.
Yeah.
But he happens to be in jail when this happens.
Uh-oh.
So we go there, and all of a sudden, we hear the big door open up, like the big metal door that cars come in. Mm-hmm. Da, 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 da. It's a real loud. Yeah. And here they come. It's like one after another, the real deal guys, older guys, these guys, big time guys. Bosses, or if they weren't bosses, then they became bosses. Yeah. All older guys, maybe 65, 80, 70, the old school from the real deal.
Over broken glasses.
Yeah. Well, it was not the broken glasses. It was the disrespect we showed their bar. But we didn't just do it that one time. I didn't do it that time, but there was maybe 30 times we did it. This is just the final time. They had enough.
They had enough.
Mm. So, and we thought who we were. It was funny because there'd be a line down the street and we'd say to the bouncer, there'd be a new bouncer, college kid, football player at the door, and we'd say, hey, we're coming in. You'll wait in line. Oh, really? Crack. We'd slap. A war.
Just disrespecting.
Yeah. So we're disrespecting their bars and a lot of fights. So, so they come in one at a time. They're coming in and it's like, it just keeps getting worse and worse. You're like, he's here. And then all of a sudden the worst one, him too. So it was crazy. So we're sitting in this little room and the older guy that owned the bar, Baba, was the boss at the time, stands up and he goes, hey, you guys want to be wise guys? You're gangsters, right? You want to be gangsters? I'm going to show you how gangsters get treated that don't listen. And his voice keeps going up and I'm like, we got problems. So 2 of my friends are over here. I got a kid next to me on a couch and I'm here and they start bang, bang. I mean, one at a time. They hit my friend first, broke his nose, blood. Oh. Bang. This guy must have punched him. It was like a Mike Tyson punch, at least 10 times in the face. I don't know how kid didn't pass out. And they got him. Then they went to this other guy, got him. Now they go to the guy next to me, bang. And what is crazy is you can't put your hands up to them guys.
You can't because you can't touch a made guy.
Right. If you touch them, it's pretty much a death sentence.
They would have whacked you.
Oh, maybe not right then, but your days are numbered, believe me. Wow. Back then, this was like, I'm going to say maybe in the 90s, mid-90s, early 90s. But, oh yeah, forget it. You can't put. But my friend next to me, I saw the whole thing. He didn't put his hands up. The guy went to throw him a punch in the face, and he went like this to block. You know what I mean? He didn't go to hit him. Yeah. He went like this. But, of course, when they see him go like this, block, they use that to get worse. They're like, oh, did you put your hands up to you? Now they tack. They got him good. Oh. So now I'm bracing.
So you just have to sit there taking your beating?
Yes.
Oh.
So now I'm sitting in the chair, and now it's my turn. I got one friend over there holding his eye, blood rag. I got another guy holding his nose. This guy here needs stitches next to me. I'm next. Now they're all with their messed up eye. They're all looking at me, and I'm bracing. This is it. So this big guy, his name's Anthony Torino, Bendo, serious guy, putting in a lot of work. He comes over to me, and he's dead now. But he comes up and he goes, and you want to be their driver? You want to be the driver like you're a big gangster? And he goes to throw me a punch. And his nephew, he had to be probably in his late 70s, 80s, the guy that went to punch me, his nephew was in his 60s. His nephew was Anthony DeLevo. real serious guy, becomes a boss a little bit later. He stops his uncle's hand, like holds his uncle's hand and says, Uncle Tony, thank God, I don't know how, don't hit this kid. He's a good kid, meaning me. Because he was best friends with my uncle, Joey. They owned an auto body together in West Springfield, right outside Springfield. So he goes, don't hit this kid. The kid's a good kid. They just drive him around and get him crazy. They want him to drive him around. So the guy, Bendo, that was going to punch me, takes out a knot like this out of his pocket. Probably he had 5,000 on him. He takes off 100 and he gives it to me and he goes, go get us coffee. So I run out of the job and who's holding their ride? My other friends holding something. And if looks could kill, they were like this, looking at me. So where I want to go is fast. So now it reverses. After they beat you up, or they beat them up, I was lucky, they reverse it. They're like, come on, guys, why would you do that? We want you with us. You're making us look bad. Throw a new towel in the guy's face. Just clean it up. You'll be fine. You're not a baby. And if your mother says anything, because we're in our 20s, your mother says anything, say you fell off your bike, or they would make up something. And they loved us after. So I went and got the coffee. I come back. So now we're going back in the car, back to get our car in the Springfield South End. And the guy, Felix, is driving us. He's a guy, he didn't hit us, but everyone else did, or they hit them. And my friends, who's holding their eye, who's holding their mouth, who's whatever, they go, it was funny. We all laughed. He must have thought we were nutcases. So they go, Felix, can we pull over behind this abandoned building and just destroy Chicky, beat him up? So that way we all get out of the car downtown together like we got beat up and we all start laughing hysterical. It doesn't happen. But for months I heard about it. You low life, you got away with it. I go, I wasn't even there. But I never told them guys that, but they were laughing. You did it.
It's such a like that kind of, it's such like a village mentality with Italians and with organized crime guys. Like it's corporal. They're handling, everything is handled within the community.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Because you guys are out of line. No 100%, question.
But they weren't calling, like even the bar people, the manager of the bar I was talking about, they don't call cops. Right. They call the guy.
Exactly.
Hey, guess what? Oh, who's this? He's 11 at night. They were all here. Chicky, this one, that one. Big shots, abused the joint. I got it tomorrow. No cops were called.
They called, the legitimate people called the wise guys.
Saying they fought. I was working. I was the register lady. They told me to F myself and threw water in my face. What? I'll see him tomorrow. No worries.
Wow. So they was that common? Was that like, would ordinary people know who to call?
Oh, yeah. No. It wasn't so much ordinary people. Wise guys owned the bar. It was the ordinary people they had working the bar that would call them and say, they were here. The wise guys again.
It was known you never call the cops.
No. And if they did call the cops, even the wise guy would yell at the people in the bar and say, what'd you call the cops for? Call me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if a melee breaks out with college kids, call the cops.
Right.
But not our guys.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like a dry snitch.
Yeah.
But anyways, there was many times
That's
like that.
Amazing. Yeah. So tell us now, when did you start your family, by the way? Like, because we're moving through the 90s now.
Yeah, now 90. I have my first daughter in 93.
Yeah.
Second daughter in 95.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was still gung-ho, but I don't know how to explain it, but once you start having kids and there's cases and the FBI's coming to your house and the organized crime state police is coming to your house and they're ripping the house up and they're destroying everything in your little kid's bedroom and all their little toys are on the ground, they throw everything. They destroy a house. And it's like, I don't know. Then you just, you know, and then of course the kids, when you start picking up cases and you're locked up for 2 days, the kids are little kids and they're like, Dad, where were you? And it gets crazy. And
what did your wife? I mean, she obviously knew what was going on. Yeah. She from the neighborhood? Is she Italian?
She knew.
Woman?
She knew what was going on. Italian girl. She knew what was going on. But like I said, it takes a weight on. It takes a weight on a relationship. Yeah. And for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, but it didn't work out, which is fine. I had my kids all the time. And like I said, and it just, you start souring on it. I still was doing stuff, don't get me wrong, but you sour on it. Like, and then I'm not going to lie to you, since like 2010, 11, even before that, Sammy the Bull ends up flipping, Joe Mazzina flips. I mean, you see all these big time people that are supposed to be this is what's the rock that holds organized crime together. They're all flipping.
Why do you think the bosses and super made guys in the mob started flipping?
Because they want to do 100 years. I mean, look at the RICO case. Giuliani is part of creating the RICO, and then he gets in trouble for RICO.
Hilarious.
I mean, talk about karma.
Yeah, right.
So, but that's neither here or there. Where I'm going with this is, I mean, Tony Salerno, Paul Castellano gets killed, but all these guys were in the a big RICO roundup with each guy. Tony Slaughter got 100 years. 100 years, and he was like 70-something years old.
They're all going to die in prison.
Right.
No one wants to die there anymore.
This guy, Persico, right? Colombo.
Carmine, yeah.
Went to jail. You could have gave him 1,000 years. He was doing every day. He was old school. There's old school guys here that take... I was in jail with him in East Manhattan. Gentleman of a guy, Vinny Basciano, Vinny Gorgeous, from the Bronx. I think Throg's next, one of them joints. He was in prison with me. He took 2 life sentences. The boss, Joe Mazzina, his boss, turned him in to get out of trouble himself. He was the underling. He was just a guy, you know.
And he didn't tell on nobody, though.
No. Went right to jail, took 2 life sentences. Wow. And now he's got a trial. I think they're in the works of trying to get him back to court because now they found new evidence where he might go on redo a trial. So I wish him and his family the best. I talked to his sons through Instagram or whatever it's called, and they're good kids.
Instagram.
Whatever. Everybody's on that now.
Yeah.
The social media.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everybody.
I don't know. Maybe they'll start giving these, because they've started giving drug dealers that have life sentences, from crack back in the day specifically, they've started giving them compassionate releases, and they're mitigating the sentences. They're realizing it was way too harsh.
And there's no violence.
Yeah.
So, the ones with no violence, if they got caught with crack or the violence is the one that gets you.
It's tough, but even now, that might even be too much. They're starting to let people, especially like in liberal places, they're starting to let lifers with violence out even. But I think hopefully, some of those wise guys, because I don't want anybody dying in prison that didn't really deserve it, So I hope maybe they'll start letting some of those guys with those huge sentences out, from these organizations. But when tell us about how you caught the big case.
Well, what happened was I had told you earlier about that kid. I used to bring my kids to have pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Guy who owed you money.
Yeah, he owed me money, but he owed like 7 other guys money too, which I didn't know, and they didn't know he owed me. And what he did was he went to the FBI, and nobody was threatening him. Nobody was beating him up. Nothing. They just came to him and made, deals with him.
Why did he go to the FBI? Because he just didn't want to pay anymore?
He just owed too much, and, whatever reason, I don't know.
How much did he owe?
I think he might have owed at one time 6, 7, maybe 100,000, 80,000 in one, to 6, 7 different guys. And what was funny is I used to bring my kids there, get pizza, get an envelope, leave. But I didn't know. I used to go on Saturday. There was somebody going on Sunday, somebody going on Tuesday, Wednesday. He had a different guy. And what happened was the FBI put cameras in his pizza shop. So when I came in with my kids, and the only reason I know this is because when you get discovery, when you're fighting the case, your lawyer has the tapes, what they have on you. So he actually showed me the tape, and I was biting my tongue in his office because I couldn't believe, here's me walking my little 7, 8-year-old, whatever the age you were, pizza. Hi, Uncle. I don't want to say his name. It's disgraceful, but they say hi to Uncle because they didn't know. And then he would say, hi, honey, go play, give $1, go play the jukebox. Look you right in the face, the low life, and be looking to put you away. And so on the tape, I'm walking out of the pizza restaurant with my 2 kids after eating and getting my little envelope and paying them almost as much as for the food, just to kind of keep it good. They were recording me walking out the door with the kids going to my car, and he looks up at the camera and says, hey, he's talking to the FBI. How'd I do? I fooled him, right? I was talking good to him.
Scumbag.
Low life, right? And he did that to about 4 or 5 different guys, and we all picked up. In my case, it was just 4 of us. It was me. Bruno was an unindicted co-defendant because he got killed. The kid, Anthony Arlotta, who was the boss at the time because Bruno gets murdered. He becomes the boss, and myself. And it was me and Anthony went to jail. The other kid only got a fine. He was just a normal kid. I won't even bring his name. He's a nice working kid. He just was working. And Bruno was murdered. So we went to jail. 4 of us were on that case.
So how did they tie you guys together, though?
Well, because they had phone, whatever back then we had the flip phones, but they knew they would follow Anthony, and I think Anthony went up there. Bruno, they had video of Bruno before he got murdered going up there collecting money. I've seen that too. So we were all going up there one time or another.
And so how were they able to link you guys to the bigger organization?
It was a conspiracy.
Right. But did they link you to the Genovese family
no, Bruno was allegedly, they say in the newspaper, Genovese guy. So anybody tied in with Bruno was technically, I never considered myself this, but they say you're an associate. My friend, my old friend, who now flipped and he's out of the life, was had the ceremony and all that. I mean, this is a fact. He came home from New York. I'll tell you about this ceremony. He came back from New York. His wife was having a baby, and he called me. This guy was my childhood friend. We were very close. And he said to me, hey, meet me at Bay State. My wife's having a baby, their baby. I said, okay, I'll meet you over there. Where are you? He goes, I'm coming back from New York. I'll be there in an hour. I said, okay. So he comes in. I'm sitting down in the cafeteria having a coffee, waiting for him. He comes in with another guy I know, and he's wearing a beautiful suit and a tie. Looks great. So he sits down next to me. I go, what are you all dressed up for? He goes, I was in New York all night. It was early in the morning, like 5 in the morning. I was there. He goes, I was there all night in New York. I go, why? What's up? And he looks me right in the face and he goes, everything's good. So I look at him and he's with another guy that drove him. And I said, what do you mean everything's good? And he goes, everything's good. I go, I still don't know what he. And then he moved his hand like this and he had the burn mark in the palm of his hand. Yeah. He got made the night before. Got
straightened out. Wow.
Right. And then, of course, you ain't going to get into specifics. But what happens is later on, when he cooperates, he told the whole, he even does it on podcasts. He tells the whole ceremony, how they had to get naked and just the boxers and go in a room and they got this honor, whatever.
That's really how they do it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they don't do it now, but they did it back then.
I don't know. I think they're crazy to do anything now, especially with
So they were able to tie in just because you were not a made guy, just a guy who was running a sports betting operation, were connected with Bruno, who was connected with the Genovese family. They called that a RICO case.
Yeah, and the kid who I was childhood friends with, that we took a lot of pinches together for assault and battery, baseball bat, assault and battery, with a sawhorse, all crazy things, just fights in bars in 6 months, a year, you don't do nothing. A couple of people we had to pay. 3 of us beat up these college football players. They were down eating hot dogs after the bar closed one night, and they were big football players, walking around, big muscle guys. And we were down there eating hot dogs, and they cut in front of us in a sausage and hot dog stand. And they said, "You just shut up. We're gonna eat our hot dogs." Terrible mistake, because I don't know if they thought we were just like some
punks.
Yeah. So of course the kid's eating a hot dog, the big muscle kid, and before he even knew what happened, my friend picked up a sawhorse, like a big thing that says no parking, smashed it right over his head. And the kid went out cold. And the musclehead kids, these supposed tough guys, they're screaming for the cop. They arrested us. So there were college football players at Springfield College. And what happened was we went to court and we were going to, whatever happened. And then they made a deal with the lawyers, give us $5,000 each. So we had to come up with $15,000. $5,000 each, 3 of us, me, two free friends, $5,000 each. We paid them and they dropped the charges.
Look at that. And you found out about your New England justice right there.
Yeah.
You're paying to get out of jail. So you got how many times did they have you on camera collecting from this guy,
I think
the pizza owner?
A couple times. It wasn't a lot.
And that was enough.
It was enough twice. And plus they had calls. Hey, I'm coming up to have pizza. I mean, I tried to speak pretty good. But
so then what was the charge? What was the sentence? And tell us about the whole.
Okay. What happened was,
did you consider fighting it?
No. I'll back up a little because I got to tell you what happened. First of all, there was rumblings around. I told you the feds were sitting on the corner down the street from my house, and I would pass them, and I'd say, "Wow, that's weird." They're all sitting there. The house I was going to do my booking. So it was early in the morning one morning, and I had left the house, and I was going up the street to get coffee and a newspaper for my father and mother. They lived a mile away. And I stopped at this, I don't know if you remember, I don't know how old you are, Johnny, but they had the Blockbuster Video where you return movies. I was returning Disney movies, and I was coming out of from putting them in that chute. 2 guys in suits come behind me, go, "Hey, Chicky," like they know me. I turned around and said, "What's up?" They go, "Yeah, hi, I'm Warren something, and I'm Jimmy," whatever the name, FBI. They go, "You and your friends got some big problems coming up. You want to talk to us?" And I said, "I got nothing to say." "You sure?" Like, "I got nothing to say." "Well, I don't know. We're your friends?" "I got nothing to say. I ain't doing nothing. My friends ain't doing nothing." "All right, well, here's my card. We can make this go away for you if you come talk." I said, "I got nothing to say." So I take the card because I'm going to tell you.
Say that again. Say that again. That's you. That's I love that, dude. What? You're a movie character. I got nothing to say.
No. I say, "What do you want me to say? Make up something? I can't help you." Right? "Okay, sure you can help me." "No, I can't help you." "How about your friends?" I don't do nothing. So they give me the card. They give me the card that says FBI, this number. So of course I take the card because I go right to somewhere right away, 7 a.m. I go to somebody's house, bigger guy I don't want to mention. And I gave him the card. I said, "Listen, I'm just telling you, I just was, same thing I just told you." And he's like, "They just bust your chops. Don't even worry about it." I said, "I don't care either way. I even convinced myself. I ain't doing nothing. I don't know if he's got a wire in his house hidden. I go, we don't do nothing. He goes, yeah, we don't do nothing. I go, no, of course not. Meanwhile, I got 300 pages in my trunk of stuff. But I know, we don't do nothing. So not even 2 weeks later, almost to the day, I same routine. I go get my coffee and my paper. I'm bringing it to my father. I'm sitting at my father's house, 7 a.m. The phone rings, okay, at the time. And it's somebody from where I was living, a girl, and says, where are you? And I go, why? What's up? All the FBI's here. They're waiting. Now I hear somebody take the phone away from them. They go, hey, Chicky, what's up? I go, who's this? This is FBI agent, whatever name. And I said, yeah, what's up? And they said, where are you? We're going to come get you. I said, you ain't coming to get me. Well, you got a warrant. We want you now. I said, all right, I'll be there. When you coming? I said, I'll be there when I get there. I was only 3 blocks down. But I just want to be, who are they, right? So I say to my poor father, never did a legal thing in his life. I said, Dad, can you bring me home? He goes, you got your car. I said, yeah, Dad, there's some people there. They want to give me a summons because I didn't pay 4 parking tickets, making them feel good. And he's like, you should have paid the parking tickets. Meanwhile, he don't know. It's a whole army waiting for me. So he brings me to my house. We get 30 yards. He sees all the cars. They're all in the driveway on the lawn. The neighbors are standing on the stairs with their house coats looking. 7 a.m. They got the whole house surrounded. And they take me into custody. And my father goes, I want to know. I said, Dad, please don't embarrass me. There's a lot of people here. So he turns around and leaves. And they took me in custody. And I ended up, making bail. I think it was $30,000. I don't know what the bail was, but maybe more because federal, you just sign. It's not like you got to come up with cash,
right.
I might have been 50. I don't know what it was. But of course, we walk out. When we get bailed out, it's all over the newspaper. Big headline, fat Chicky, $1 million bulls. And then, of course, they add in the organized crime thing, which I never considered myself that, but whatever. But
well, yeah, but it's your ties. And they tied you into a guy who was dead. Like Bruno's gone, and they were still able.
No, they tied me in with that. But keep in mind, my childhood friend, who was also on the case, is the boss at this time.
Yeah.
He became a captain, and he's the boss.
What was the charge?
My charge was sports bookmaking, running an illegal sports gambling business with no violence, just gambling alone, running a gambling. Mm-hmm. And I think I think in 2 years they estimated over $3 million. It was like $300,000 a month. What they said, I don't know if they ever really knew, but let's keep it at that for now. For the money.
Sure.
But anyways, so I pleaded guilty, and they gave me. They wanted to give me 60. When you go on violence, it's not a lot of time bookmaking.
Right.
It's like white collar,
of course.
And they ended up giving me. They wanted to give me 16 months. They ended up giving me like a year and a day, whatever that is, so I could qualify for. If it's a year and a day, you can get a couple months off for good time. If it's like 11 months, or they give you 12 months, not the year and a day, you got to do day for day, which is a nothing sentence.
Man.
So I made it. Here's the funny thing.
That's a sneeze.
Nothing.
It's a catnap.
Right.
I did more time for selling weed.
And my friend, who was the boss at the time, only got 3 years for that case because they didn't have violence. It was just running an illegal bookmaking with no violence. But then later on, the violence came with him. That's what got him in a lot of trouble. So when there's no violence.
Wow. So, and what's so sad about the times now, if you're a guy like you who's just got a hand for placing sports bets, you just got the mind for it, I can tell. Your job doesn't exist anymore because sports are legal. So now it's eliminating all of the nonviolent guys. That was the way that the nonviolent guys earned.
Right.
Like that really made the mob. The mob isn't made from bullshit, nickel and dime, breaking a guy's ankle to collect $100 a week. It's made off of gambling.
That's violence and the gambling, loan sharking. You got to understand, violence is where you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess sometimes in the past, now forget it, but in the past 80s, there was violent people.
Yeah.
But the violent, crazy people don't last. I could name a lot of violent people.
Of course.
That were violent.
We all know.
Roy DeMeo from serial killer, killed like 100 people. Him and the Gemini twins and all that. They put him in, you know where he found? In a trunk. Yeah. They killed him.
Yeah.
When you're too crazy, it's too much heat, and they don't want the headache.
Right.
They're thinking you're going to overthrow them if you're that crazy. You know?
But now that sports gambling is basically extinct for the mob, it's going to push more people into violence or drugs because they don't have this solid white collar, normal neighborhood thing where it don't feel like a crime when an electrician comes and puts a couple hundred down on a Sunday.
Right.
It's so
I know.
it's so benign, but that's crazy. So that's a good business. I'd risk a year in jail for $300,000 a week.
As long as there's no violence, that's all it is. Even if it's your second or third pinch for that, all right, maybe you get 3 years. It's still not 10, 15.
Right.
Now, you extort a guy owes you money for gambling, and I go give him a crack in the face, say, I want my money next week. It's extortion. One crack, I'm getting 5 years.
Right.
If my dear friend that's in the, we'll talk about it later, the movie with me, did 18 years in federal prison. He did 13 years on one bid for driving a car of a guy in the back seat who broke a guy's arm that owed him money. He was driving the car, the guy in the back seat broke his arm. He got 13 years.
So if you had smacked that pizza owner, if you had, put him in a headlock, beat his ass up,
I would have got 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
For a slap. Never mind beat him up. Slap.
Yeah.
5 years for extortion.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. So, but they saw that, and you were, wow. Thank God.
They had tapes of me being a gentleman,
But see, that's why after this is so enlightening. Our conversation, because there really is no reason to beat a guy up when you're not out any money. We've learned through the course of this show, you didn't lose any money by him not paying. You just lost money you could have had, but it's not like money's coming out of your pocket.
No, here's the thing that you don't. Let me explain it a little better. Say a guy never bet before to you, and it's his first bet. Technically, you're right. If it's his first bet and he never bet with you, he loses. I know what you're saying.
Like here, Chick. I bet you $100 the Jets win by 2.5 on Sunday. Jets lose by 2.5.
Okay.
I'm not paying you. But you didn't lose anything.
Okay,
you just lost the money you could have had.
Now let me give you a reversal to that.
Okay.
You've been betting with me for 3 months. In the 3 months, give or take, you've won $4,000 or $5,000 from me. I paid you every week. Now you lose $2,000. You don't pay me. I just paid you $5,000, $6,000. You can't give me $2 back.
Right? Yeah.
Now it goes. Now you're like, okay. So you're talking based on one guy coming new. Oh, he lost. Well, he really didn't. That's different. You can make a deal with him.
Yeah.
But a guy that just took you for $20,000, he lost $1,500, and you got to chase him.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
It's principle.
Yeah.
Italians don't like disrespect.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm just saying that's in any in any world that's disrespect. If you're a painter. And you paint all my, you know what I'm trying to say. In other words, in any business, I pay you all the time to paint my house, and then you paint another house of mine, and I say I ain't paying you. I mean, that's disrespectful. In any world, not just alleged organized crime. So it's just a matter. That's not right. You know?
So you got out, and then what have you done? Like, did you leave the life when you got out?
Yeah. What happened was, I got out in 2007. I think 2007. They sent me to a federal probation house in Boston called Coolidge House. And I came home and I was on 3 years probation. We had a separation list. We couldn't go near none of my friends, anybody in organized crime, nothing. And I took care of my kids and I brought them, through the 3 years. But I was still doing hustling a little bit here, loaning money here and there, but quietly. I didn't go crazy. I mean, I was done with the sports booking at that time because they follow you. You're all done. And then 2010, 11, a lot of people took pinches in my area for the Bruno murder. That was a big thing, a lot of heat. And
so it took them 7-8 years to take people down for that murder.
2009 or 10, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So all these people took pinches, and then it sounds like the game in Springfield was just...
Yeah, the older guys end up dying or going to jail and dying in jail. It just... Everything went right down the tubes.
So then what did you do?
And then, we were hustling on our own because now nobody's there to tell us no. So we were doing it. When they were there saying no, we were still doing it. Now, nobody's there. We can really do it. So we did that for a few years. And then,
hustling
and then I just...
Like how?
Like loan sharking, taking bets, street number, the lottery we were doing.
Still street number? Even in 2011, 2012?
Yeah, up to probably 15, 16. And then it is what it is. It started dying off. And then I got in with a couple people like in 2015, 16, a couple good guys. And we started thinking differently. I mean, I consider myself good friends with John Gotti Jr., who beat 5 trials in 3 years, millions of dollars in law firm, legitimately beat these cases. Lights out, life in prison, death penalty cases.
Yeah.
He beat them, legitimately beat them. And he left a life. He said, he's got 6 kids. He's a good father. His son's an MMA fighter. That's how we met him, through MMA.
Yeah.
And, he's doing productions and some documentary stuff. And we ended up becoming friends with him. Had dinner with him in Oyster Bay where he lives. And a couple of times his son fights. We support the son. We sell tickets and help.
Yeah.
And he's just a good guy. And he said to me, and he's a very good guy. And he said, listen, I root for the bank robber to get away to this day. But I had so much heat on me. I was just blessed to beat the cases, and I'm done. And if you're going to do that, he used to tell us, if you're going to do that life, I'll root for you, but I don't want you around me.
Yeah.
Because he's a hot guy as far as law.
Of course.
And he hasn't done nothing since. He's a good father. He's manager of his son in the fight. His son just fought Floyd Mayweather a couple months ago in, I think, Florida. Now, I don't know what's going on now. I think they're going to do it again, but I don't know for sure. But so we got around some good people, and that's when the movie stuff started happening.
Right.
So, and that's what I'm saying. And then now, and then just when everything was going good, I pick up the biggest indictment in East Coast history, December 5th, 2019.
Okay, yeah, we can't leave this out. Tell us about that really quick.
Well, what happened was I had a house with my nephew, 40-year-old Italian kid. Allegedly, I think he's still in jail. They made it out like they were coming for El Chapo. And at the end of the day, nobody got more. I think one guy got 7 years. Everybody else got 5 years or 6 years or less. So it was 60. It was the biggest indictment. People can look it up. It's called Operation Thrown Down. It's East Coast leadership dismantling of the Latin King and Queen Nation. And they had my nephew allegedly the boss from Boston, Massachusetts to Miami, Florida.
An Italian kid.
40 years old Italian kid.
Running the Latin Kings.
That's what they allege. You know,
I mean, tell me if anything in this world makes sense anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
So how did you get
I happened to be there that night. I had a second location where I had my room there too, in case I ever wanted to stay overnight for whatever reason. And
what do you mean?
Like I had a house, but then I had that location. I had a room there.
Were you hustling?
Yeah, a little bit, but not drugs or nothing. But it just was a good, like if I didn't want to go home for whatever reason, I stayed at the house. I had a little room. Just happened to be there that night, December 5th, 2019, 4 o'clock in the morning. Just happened to be up sitting watching TV. Don't ask me why. He's sleeping. And I hear the bang on the door. Bang, 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 bang. And you know at 4 in the morning, it's not somebody selling Girl Scout cookies. It's not somebody looking to rob you because you ain't going to hear them. And it's the cops. So I didn't even have time. I went to get up to open the door. What are you going to do? They're all out there. I looked out on the porch and they were all, couldn't even move. And all of a sudden, flash bombs started coming through the window. Crazy. Like they were coming for like we were in a war. Yeah. And they blew up. And I don't know if you know about flash bombs, but your ears are ringing. You can't see smoke. Can't breathe. It definitely deters you from trying to, you know. And next thing you know, I woke up. It felt like 20 minutes later. It was like maybe a minute later. And we're in zip ties head to toe, you know, head versus head. And within 15 minutes, they took him out of there. They were serving a federal indictment for him, not me. And they said, we're going to search the house. So I said, go ahead, do what you got to do. And now I'm thinking in my head, I'm screwed. Because in my bedroom, and I always had one, I'm not going to lie to you, I was around criminals. I was around my nephew. I was around that crazy gangs, which they all knew me since they used to call me Uncle Chicky, the young Spanish kids. They knew me. My mother used to cook for them when they were 12. They were around my nephew his whole life. So
you had a piece.
I had the only thing I was lucky, I didn't know at the time, but I had a Smith & Wesson and Smith & Wesson factories in Springfield, Massachusetts.
That's right. Yeah, okay? I knew that.
Now, if it was a state case, you're getting 4 or 5 years. Yeah. If you get pulled over with a gun, I don't care what kind it is. But I didn't know at the time. I had a great lawyer, attorney Dan Hagan, wonderful lawyer out of Western Mass, and a really good, great guy. Saved me a lot of times, not just this time. And I wasn't facing a lot, but so I figured, all right, well, 3 to 5 years, I'm gonna have to go do it. I didn't know. And then, so they give me a $30,000 bond. They bring me in for like 2 weeks, you know, in jail. Then they give me a $30,000 bond because I wasn't part of that Latin King bust. I just happened to have the same blood in my vein as my nephew. They were coming for him and 63 other Latin Kings from New Jersey, Connecticut.
Huge case involving drugs and murder and guns.
Intimidation of witnesses. It was
those guys are serious.
Serious
those guys are
right,
criminals.
And you know, next thing you know, I'm on a bus with all the Latin Kings from our area going to Boston Federal Court. We come down the street in Boston. I'm right there. And they all know me. They're like, hey, Chicky. They're talking to me. I knew them their whole life since kids. They hung around my nephew.
So the government tried to tie you in?
No, they weren't tying me in. At the time, it was so new. They didn't know what I was doing there.
Right. So they bring you in like you're one of them.
Yeah, they bring me in. Right. So I went through everything they went through. Craziness. They pulled down the streets by the Boston Moakley, a federal building in Boston. They had all state troopers on the rooftops with shotguns. It was like they were bringing a Charlie Manson. Yeah. And they had my nephew first. So now we walk in the lockup, and my nephew's in a cell by himself. That they don't put him with the other guys because they don't want him talking to them like, do this, don't say that. And here I come walking around the corner. He goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "What do you mean what I'm doing? The thing? Well, you forgot? Oh, you stupid!" He said. And so I get bounced 2 weeks later. I'm thinking, well, it is what it is. I have to go do 4 or 5, whatever it is.
So you're a felon. Are you on probation still?
No.
Okay,
nothing.
so you're off paper, thank God. But you're a felon. You got a gun.
Non-violent crime felon for bookmaking, but I wasn't supposed to have that.
Right.
So my lawyer, I get out, and my lawyer comes and sees me there, and I says, whatever it is, what is it, 4 years? He goes, let me ask you a question. My lawyer says to me, he goes, the gun they found. He goes, yeah. He goes, he knew it was, I don't know how he knew it was Smith & Wesson. I told him. He goes, Smith & Wesson? Yeah. And it was loaded. So I guess federal law, and anybody can check this, if the government can't, if the gun's clean, like my lawyer said, is there anything on that I should know about the gun, bodies, shootings? I said, no, never was shot. It was new. I just couldn't have had it. I knew a guy at Smith & Wesson stole it from me, but it wasn't bodies or anything. It was brand new. But he goes, it's Smith & Wesson. I go, 100%, right? He goes, well, I don't know if you know it or not. He goes, federal law, if they can't prove that gun left state lines, they only can charge you with ammunition.
Whoa.
So
if the feds pop you with a gun in Massachusetts and they can't...
I wasn't driving around with it. It was in my house. They found it. So I'm not going to say, my nephew, I wasn't going to say, oh, that's his. It is what it is. Do what you want with it. But so my lawyer goes, no, if there's nothing bad that comes back on it, like it was used, it's a Smith & Wesson. They only could charge with ammunition. It's a federal law.
Wow.
If they can't prove it left state lines and it's Smith & Wesson, now if it was a Ruger, Glock, all bets are off. They're going to charge.
What's the charge of ammunition, though, the federal charge?
As far as time?
Yeah.
I think they wanted to give me 16 or 17 months.
So you can't even own ammunition?
Ammunition. If I own the shell, a shell?
Yeah.
That they put on the keychains? If you have a shell in your bedroom floor, a shell, they can charge you federally with ammunition. A shell,
ridiculous.
No bullet, a shell. So they found the gun was loaded, and then I had a quarter of a box, maybe 10 bullets under the bed in the box. So they charged me the ammunition, which is only a 16, 17-month charge. So now I had the lousy 2 weeks, which was nothing. But then in January of 2020, they revoked my bail. They come get me. I was at a VA hospital appointment because I'm a veteran, getting a checkup, and the FBI came and took me, said the judge wants to see you in Boston at 2 o'clock. It was like 11 in the morning. I said, I didn't even do nothing. So they take me in the van, FBI van, all the way to Boston. I go in front of the judge at 2 o'clock. So she goes, we're going to remand you for 2 weeks. We're going to do an investigation on you about some craziness. They thought I was still involved with something or I'm doing something. So I didn't do nothing. Well, we'll readdress this in 2 weeks. So they bring me to Wyatt Federal Holding outside Providence, Rhode Island. It's a detention center like MCC Manhattan, MC Brooklyn. Terrible place, but it is what it is. You do what you got to do. So I went there and COVID hits.
Right, of course.
They closed the courts. So something I'm supposed to be 2 weeks till they readdress it. Almost 3 months, a little over 3 months.
And are you locked up?
Locked up.
Oh,
and
no.
it had COVID. It was 20, one side goes and eats, like one set of tiers. We were locked in 22 hours a day.
Wow.
Because they didn't let you out in population. Because I was in the gang unit. So when I came in the gang unit, the door opens. You got all the Italian guys from Boston and Providence there. Then you got the Latin Kings, and they put me in the gang unit. So right away, all the Latin Kings start screaming, Uncle Chicky. They're all running up to me. Now, the Italian guys are looking at me like, who is this guy? Because, the Latin Kings usually stick with their own. But I knew these kids since they were 13, 12. My mother used to cook pasta fazool and meatballs for them. Thinking they played softball. Not softball, but like my nephew would say, oh, these are my friends from the baseball team at school. My nephew never played a sport in his life. So I would laugh because I knew who they were, right? And my mother, oh, see? She used to say to me, why can't you get friends like that? And I'm dying laughing as if she only really knew.
Yeah.
So
now they're facing the death penalty.
Yeah. So now they all rounded around me, carried my stuff to the cell, helped me. They picked the cell. Oh, no, he's going to be with us. He told the guard. They do anything they want. So then after I came out of the cell, after an hour, I set the cell up. Excuse me. And the Italian guy goes, what's going on? Why are they coming to you? And I said, it's a long story. My nephew, blah, blah, blah. And then they knew about it. They didn't know that was the case, but they go, oh, the case just got picked up. Yeah. So they had me there almost 2. So by the time I went to court, I pleaded guilty to ammunition. And by the time I went to court, I already had like 3.5, 4
time served, basically
3.5 months. And then I got a condition from the military. I got retired because I got an illness from the military because of a accident on the ship. So my lawyer said, COVID is running raggeds.
Yeah.
If he goes to court with his sickness, he can get COVID and die. So the judge said, well, we got 4 months good time.
Right.
We're looking to only give him a year and a half anyways. We'll give him 12 months on a bracelet house arrest.
Perfect. So they just split you right there.
But it was funny
Kicked
because the kid who's here today, Anthony Grasso, was with me in court with my judge. With my lawyer, and the judge is sentencing me. And I said to my lawyer, it was funny. I said, because I'm a big guy. And when I went to court, when I went to jail the last time for over a year, I lost 150 pounds. So I look great. So I says to my lawyer, no, because I didn't know how house arrest worked. I thought you had to stay in nonstop. So I said to my lawyer, get me the year. I'll go today. I don't want a house arrest. I figure you sit in the house, you don't move around. That's all I need. And he says, no, anytime you leave federal court without jail, it's a win. Trust me, let me handle it. And they end up getting me the year. Yeah. And it's good because your probation guy works out a schedule. Right. I can go work out. I went swimming every day, visit my grandkids. So it's not as bad as I thought.
So you've really only been out of trouble for a couple of years.
Well, no, this April just ended. This April.
Oh, that was the house arrest?
Yeah.
You just got off house arrest in April this year?
Yeah, took the bracelet off me. And then I go in a nice area because, I put away a good amount of money from different things. But I end up buying a nice place. I went and moved away, but not moved away in Springfield, but a place called another location near Connecticut, near Suffield, Connecticut. Beautiful apartment condo kind of thing with a pool.
So, Chicky, do you think you're done?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm done. Well, now I'm done for sure. The movie, we got the movie coming out. I was involved in the movie. We can go into that. I'm done.
You think you've been hustling for so long. You think you finally squirreled away enough to retire?
Yeah. Well, I get him a good retirement every month because I get 100% from the military. That's not no joke now. Yeah. And I'm done now. Listen, I got good things going in. And like I had said before, these people today that want to do business with you or give you a job or opportunity, I got a little cold. They like going out with these street guys. They like going out, maybe going to dinner, laughing with them. But with business things, they don't want to do business with people on the street because they're scared. Like, oh, something's gonna. So now I met some good people. Like I said, the movie I'm in now, which I got a talking role. Don't ask me how. But James Mattio's in the movie, and Leonardo DiCaprio's Appian Way production company did all the production. It's called The Featherweight. It just was at Venice Film Festival about a month ago. Standing ovation.
It's awesome.
And then October 1st, we go for the premiere in the United States to Woodstock, New York, where they had Woodstock. And they're doing the United States premiere there. And then we're going to have one in Hartford.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing, man. Yeah. Now, last question. Is the American Mafia finished?
I'm only giving my opinion. And the guys who are the top level guys, in my opinion, they're already multimillionaires. So they practically completely almost stopped murder. There's no more murders in the street like in the 80s and 90s. There was 80s, was it 70s? Forget it. 80s, bad. 90s, But number one, the cooperators that are in this world now, it's not embarrassing to them. They cooperate. They don't run off into the Arizona desert and never see him again.
They start a podcast. Right.
And Sammy the Bull, serial killer, 19 murders. He's doing a podcast.
No shame.
No shame. It's like they got fans. Look at their comments. Oh, you look so good. Oh, we're with you, Sammy. We're with you. This one or that. I don't want to get into their names. Who's out there? But come on, there's no shame in it. And this is the funny part. And I'm no expert. Thank God I didn't do anything stupid enough where I was facing 30 years because I would have been doing it, But I knew enough. When the stuff around you, got people, bosses opening up, and they're bosses turning in their underlings. Never mind the underlings turning in the bosses are turning their underlings. Right. So I think the guys today, the real guys that are left, the older, I think they know that, hey, listen, we're going to do our business, maybe do a little unions. I'm not sure New York's different than where I'm from, but they're smart. They get insulated. They insulate themselves. They're not meeting nobody or talking unless, But I just
So do you think Springfield is done, specifically your area?
If I had to just give my opinion, I say it's 100% done. But like I said, what do I know? Maybe there's something going on I don't know about. But I don't know.
What do you think is left to, if we put drugs aside, if there is, an organization of wise guys, Italian Americans, Sicilian Americans that still want to make money off the books, what is it today? Is it the unions?
I think the unions, but I just think that they're getting smarter now. They're into the NASDAQ, and they're doing it. They're smarter now. A lot of these big time guys are putting their kids in the best schools, and they're lawyers, and they might do little things here and there, but they're not doing the street stuff's over. I mean, there's some loan sharks probably still. That's a big business, and a lot of people can't go borrow money, so they borrow.
Especially now, the interest rates are going so high.
It's crazy. And
maybe loan sharking will come back a little bit.
I don't know. Bookmaking. Now,
is there still bookmaking though?
Well, listen, here's the thing with bookmaking. There's so many legal avenues to do bookmaking. The only person that a secret backdoor bookmaker is going to get are the people who can't pay. Because if they had money, they would just go to the casino or use their credit card and call these services. Right. So when they're betting through these back alley bookies, they're betting because it's credit for the first week. You can bet Monday to Sunday and not put up a dime. Wow. Now you owe $10,000. You can't do that at casino. Right. If you don't put up $10,000, you're not betting. And
so a guy like you now, if he wanted to do what you did back in the day, he's dealing with just degenerates that are already in crazy amounts of debt.
Because normal people will go and bet their own money in casinos or through their credit card on the phone to all these different bookie things. Legitimately. Right. They don't want to deal with the street guys, or maybe they won't get paid, or maybe they won't have it. So you're only getting the degenerates now that are betting through these back, which there ain't too many left. Now they got a perfect way of doing it. They call Costa Rica. Well, in my day, I don't know about now, it could be different, but back in like mid-2000s, we used to call Costa Rica. The bookmakers were taken out of the office. I was done with my job in 2005. They were giving a 1-800 number to all the customers. They would call Costa Rica. They would have the best lines. They could never rob because the people in Costa Rica don't know the people in Springfield. You would pay between $12 to $20 a guy. So say you had 100 guys. Say you got $15 a guy. It was $1,500 a week. So they took me out of the office, had them call Costa Rica, and then at the end of the week, Sunday night, Costa Rica would send you a slip, however, and you would have all your figures. So no more pinches, no more nothing. That's it.
Wow.
So it worked out good,
Yeah. Well, Chicky, this has been enlightening to say the least. I'm very happy for your newfound freedom. Yeah. I mean, you were in a movie for 4 months after getting off of house arrest.
Imagine that.
I mean, what a country.
And I shot the movie while I was on house arrest. They let me leave. I said I was going to somewhere for 4 hours, and I shut down Hartford to shoot the movie for 2 days, 4 or 5 hours.
You're the last of a dying breed, Yeah. So I really appreciate you coming on.
John,
switch over to the Patreon, you guys. Do you have a social media you can plug?
Yeah,
We're going to put the links in.
I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. It's under Chicky, my name. He'll put it in the description. Cicchetelli, my last name, and I got at the end of my name a 1_. Chicky Cicchetelli, that little line on the bottom. And you don't think I'm nuts when you see it, but I put up a lot of my grandchildren and some funny things, whatever. I just have fun with it.
And there may be a podcast coming down the line. Why not?
Listen, and like I said, I'm all about being positive on the movie. I got a wonderful girlfriend who treats me like a king, and it's just everything. Once you start doing the right thing, everything turns around. Everything.
Yeah.
I'm around, maybe I don't have 100 people at my disposal no more, but I have 5 guys that'll go to war for me.
Yeah.
So, and that's enough for me right now. And my grandkids, like I said, I'm blessed.
It's never too late. Look at you. You're still a young man.
55 years old. My best moment of my life is yet to come.
That's right. That's it, man. So switch over to the Patreon because I want to talk we want to talk prison stories and I want to talk some Gotti stuff and, get into some real dirt, But you were the guys like you are what made the American Mafia. Not the violence, not the drugs. I'm talking about the bread and butter.
Right.
It was the smart guys.
I would agree on part of that. I would agree. Yeah.
So, you're a humble guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Thanks, Chick. Take care, guys.
Thank you.